just to be clear, when I'm a prosecutor, I'm looking at the individual irrespective of skin color, occupation, party orientation. This is somebody who was the same party that I was. Maybe I was twice as hard on him because of it, but I like to think that I would have prosecuted him just like any other person. It's important that we hold our public officials accountable for their misdeeds. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to get Sanam's and Bruce's, just their take on it. They thought that's inappropriate.
Go for it, you got it.
Okay. I would look at the individual. As I have said in the cards that I have passed out, we would evaluate each defendant on a case-by-case basis. And I would look at the criminal history of the individual. I've not heard of it before this, but I would look at the amount taken, the criminal history, and then make the determination as to what a fair and equitable plea bargain should be.
So maybe I misunderstood the question. Was your question that it's a waste of resources to go be a
If you thought that was an appropriate procedure to follow in the first place,
okay,
and to reach outside the county and so forth.
Absolutely. I mean, as a community, we're still a community. It doesn't matter if it's within our district or not, and that individual in this case deserved to have a prosecutor that's impartial. And, we may be in a position of same sorts. And I kind of think we a little bit are with Mr. Brown, who right now says we need to keep, or I don't know the exact wordage, but official misconduct. Official misconduct to me is a prosecutor who has a car accident who doesn't report. Who do we have to prosecute something like that? Nobody. Mr. Brown is the only one that's in possession of the documentation of his car accident. He totaled a taxpayer car, didn't report it till about 12 hours later via internet. I cannot tell you how many cases are being prosecuted for not reporting a car accident. Who do we have for this misconduct? Where is the trail? Where is the paperwork? I want to ask for it right now publicly because I have asked for it and I have not received it. No one that I know of that's asked for it has received it, and I would love a reply on that. And why your office is going after the misconduct that you are guilty of.
Before you answer that, I would ask Ian if you have investigated that for the Clear Creek Current.
I don't really feel comfortable talking about what we're looking into right now, but
okay.
I think it's fair to say that all of the candidates have brought forward information about other candidates that we're going through. So there's plenty of stuff for us to dig through.
Can I respond? So when you have a traffic accident, you file a report. If there's any injury, you need to stay on the scene. I had an accident. Let's talk about the circumstances first. It was at Dow Junction, which is right where Minturn and I-70 intersect. So it's that bridge that goes over, and unfortunately, it's a common area where people have accidents. This was a collision that I was involved in at 8 o'clock, December 2015. And the car rotated and I hit the center median twice, and we had the car towed, and the insurance company, I don't know what the figure is, it's like 60% or more of the car's value is damaged. It's going to be totaled, and it was totaled. I contacted Vail PD. I was advised that that was not the proper reporting agency, that State Patrol was the proper reporting agency, and that I could submit a report online. So that's exactly what I did. I submitted the report online the same day. It was with the blessing, so to speak, of State Patrol. So I followed the same procedure that anybody in this room or any member of our community could follow, and that's the story. When I first people started asking me about this, when the campaign heated up, he was drunk, or he pocketed the insurance proceeds, and then it shifted to it's a violation of law. So folks, this is the silly season. This is when these political things come up. I trust that you'll be able to distinguish.
Can you pass it right over to that gentleman? Thank you. Yes, Bruce Brown. Last time we met, we talked about a VA Connect program. I'd like to ask you how long this has been one of your goals. You've been in office almost 4 years now, and it just seems to be in the starting phases. In addition to that, what are the procedures in order to get this set up, and how would it differ from a special court for VA people? And then I'd like to hear from Bruce Carey and Simone, what your positions are, and get an idea from both of you about how long you think it would take you to put in a special court for veterans.
Yeah, while I was campaigning in 2012, I made it a priority that we would try to give special treatment to veterans to account for the service that they've given to our community and country. And so I began those conversations with a leading member of the Clear Creek Veterans Coalition very early on, if not before I became elected. And quite honestly, we had several meetings, and we were going down to Jefferson County where they have a full-blown court. And I was trying to assess what can we do here in Clear Creek County. And the reason was there's nothing like a veterans court in a rural county. They're all along the Front Range. They're all in areas where the population can obviously support. And so every step of the way is, would we be able as a small community to support a veterans court? And so I have developed a program in combination with other stakeholders. And you know, I think we're going to get across the finish line in the next week or so. It has taken a long time. I did get diverted, unfortunately, by some of the big cases. We're a small district. I'm only one guy trying to cover over 3,000 square miles of Colorado, and sometimes things don't happen quickly. We have done, along the way, work with veterans, and the way that usually has happened, and I encourage anybody watching this at home or sitting around this table who knows a veteran who came into contact with the criminal justice system in Clear Creek County, or the other three, to call me. And what we try to do is lead them to services with the veterans through Veterans Affairs, through the VA. We have a representative amongst our stakeholders from the VA, and we also have the Clear Creek County Veterans Outreach Coordinator, who will work with veterans to get them into services. If the veteran consents to tell the DA that, then we take a look at them and say, okay, for example, maybe we're thinking jail on that case. Let's take jail off the table, but go to your counseling. And this will be the first established program in the state of Colorado that serves veterans well. So yeah, it's taken a long time, but I'm really optimistic that we're at a point where we're going to do some groundbreaking stuff.
Are you saying the Jefferson County Treatment Court doesn't serve veterans well?
No, you misunderstood me.
He said Veterans Court is going on in Jeffco. Last week, I had a veteran with a case in Eagle County. There were 3 county court deputy DAs in the room. And I knew what I was doing. First, I asked for the offer, and I was told no offer. Then I was asking about sentencing concessions, no offer. Then I brought up, well, he's a veteran. Does that sway your decision at all? No offer. Then I brought up Vet Connect, Mr. Brown's name for his veterans program here in Clear Creek County. None of the 3 had ever heard of it. There was no program. 3.5 years ago, he took office, and he's done absolutely nothing in creating a veterans court in that 3.5 years. I am a veteran of the United States Army. I was a sergeant and a Vietnam-era vet, but my overseas time was served in Cold War Germany. I would, in my first month, establish a problem-solving court for veterans in the 5th Judicial District. I'm a huge advocate of Judge Sullivan's problem-solving courts in Eagle County. The problem-solving court in Summit County works very well because those problem-solving courts cut recidivism, and that is my primary focus in dispensing justice throughout the 5th Judicial District. Sanam, do you want to comment?
Sure. I think Bruce Carey said it really well, and we do need the resources, and we need to go to the programs that have worked well. I'm not going to sit here before you and say I'm going to have a program up in 1 month, and I know the answers to everything. I don't, and I think that's my biggest strength. I think what you've got to do is go talk to the veterans, see what their needs are. Go talk to the courts that have worked and see how they established their programs and how they got funding. We pay the same taxes. We are a community that works hard. We deserve the same resources. And if we need to go down to Denver and demand that, we should. Why is it that the Front Range has the resources that we don't have? We have the same exact problems. And as a community, we need to have the demand for the same exact resources. With Mr. Carey and I, what you could do is take us at our word. With Mr. Brown, look at his track record. Now that it's election season, he's saying the right things. But what has he done? Where is the restorative justice? In the last week, he has a program up and running that I, to be honest with you, hadn't even heard about till tonight. I've had veterans with PTSD and I don't know what to do for them. As a defense attorney, I'm limited because the resources are limited, and I'm trying to demand what is right. I am trying to demand justice for this community. And again, that's the only reason I'm sitting here.
Can I respond? So, you know, first of all, I'm not stopping my job just because there's an election upcoming. I'm going to continue to work every day for you. And Clear Creek County sets up different than Eagle County. And the problem with Eagle County, as any veterans in the room? I'm not. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, more than half a dozen is it's really difficult to get the VA to you. Troy has done a great job. He has created a way where we were going to get veterans to the services in Denver who live in Clear Creek County. You can't do that in Summit, and you can't do it in Eagle, and you can't do it in Lake as readily. The hope is that we'll get some traction here in Clear Creek. We'll see that the numbers are there, and we'll expand it to other counties. But when the choice is that I have to prosecute a case where just to use a dramatic example, somebody lying, bleeding on the ground versus establishing programming, folks, it's a small district. We only have so many resources, and nobody was throwing up money to me to create programming. Clear Creek County stood up. Phil Buckland, the commissioners, they stood up. They lit a fire under my ass, and they said, Bruce, we want it. And that was, 6-8 months ago, and they got me refocused. So apologize for, I wasn't asleep at wheel, just doing other stuff, and I'll be at the Clear Creek County Commissioners, I think next week. They've invited me to talk more about it. We've got a stakeholders meeting. We've got all the stakeholders on the dotted line signing the MOU that I drafted to institute the programming. Let's cross our fingers and hope it works.
And I want to thank the gentleman over there for bringing up the issue about the vet court, et cetera. That is huge. And I appreciate the dialogue that's going on here and focusing on other, the subgroups, if you will, within our population. Sometimes we have a tendency to just broad brush and just say justice is this, I want to take it back, though, to the youth. I am a retired middle school, high school teacher. And if there's anything that young people do is a lot of dumb stuff. Brain growth, etc. Well, a lot of adults do that too, we get it. But, and I know both Sanam and Bruce Brown, you both have talked about it a bit. Bruce Carey, I'd like for you to talk about it. But also address at what point would you consider a juvenile an adult? In other words, at age 16, 17, the severity of the crime, would you pursue or not at all? You know, so go back to the you know, the youth justice system. I'd like to hear more about that.
We have two concepts going on here together. Diversion and restorative justice. They do somewhat go hand in hand, but youth diversion, juvenile diversion, I believe is anybody under 18. I do not agree with the concept of charging someone as an adult except in extreme cases. But generally, I'm not in favor of that. We are not going to allow them to smoke or drink at an early age because they've done something horrendous. I don't think that we heap responsibility on them at an earlier age. So I would generally consider a juvenile to be under 18. Diversion is a non-judicial program that truly diverts them away from the court system and helps them get back on track and into the good graces of the community. That can also go for adults. Adults can go through a diversion program, not through the court, and not have a court record. Restorative justice is getting offenders and victims together to air their differences. If I take my motorcycle, which I have yet to buy, and do donuts in your front yard, because it would be fun, you would be the aggrieved party, and you would be rather angry with me. But because our counties are 70-mile long valleys and only a half-mile apart, we are going to get together in Safeway or City Market, in whatever valley we happen to live in. We're going to run into each other because I'm not going to get life in prison for doing donuts in your front yard. In restorative justice, you get to tell me